Oh, good morning, Emma. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Actually, it's not just an unboxing, it's unboxings. Yeah, we've got this one from right next door in Minnesota, and then we have another one. Wait, no, I've got them reversed. Hold on a second. This was the one from Oklahoma, and then the one after this is from the great state of Minnesota. So, yeah, be interesting to see what we find. Unboxings have a little bit of a flavor of Christmas, don't they? We just never know. We never know. All right. It's kind of cut off on the edge. I was trying to see, I think that's Ethany, Oklahoma. It might be Bethany, Oklahoma. It's hard to say. Yeah, Oklahoma's a great state, isn't it? That's where our friend WK is from. WK is the gentleman that by profession works on helping to take care of trees. Is anyone that's really smart, kind of genius level, want to type in the chat? What do they call those people that work on trees? They actually have a day that we celebrate every year that carries the same name. Yeah. But WK has a sewing machine museum that's interactive down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And eventually, I'm going to make a trip down there and meet him, and then also meet his flock down there. He's got a number of folks that kind of follow his work at that sewing machine museum in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I actually have a machine already wrapped up that's going to go with me. That's going to go with me down to Tulsa, Oklahoma when I go down to see WK. He already knows about it, and he's excited. Yeah, and then he and I are I think we're going to restore a featherweight together. I think that's our plan when I'm down there. That'll be fun. All right, let's get into this unboxing with minimal blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So this one again is from Oklahoma. Yes, Emma's exactly right. An arborist. And we have obviously Arbor Day every year. Yeah. A lot of people will plant trees. And the plan for this machine is not, let me explain further. I had a customer that's been watching the channel for a while and has probably watched every video that I've done on the Rolls-Royce of Singer sewing machines. And he's been kind of in the shadows, watching those videos, rewatching those videos, revisiting those videos. And he's been like, I've been sitting on the fence too long. I need to reach out to this guy in Wisconsin and find out if he has one of those 201-2s. And I know that one of the videos he watched and rewatched and rewatched and rewatched and rewatched was the 201-2 that I did for Paula Noel out of West Palm Beach, Florida. He really enjoyed that one because that was just, I really demonstrated the ferociousness of the 201-2. And again, the 201-2s only come with a 0.5 or a 0.6 amp motor. It's not a huge motor like you see on the Husqvarnas or on the FOF machines. It's a relatively, I wouldn't say small, but medium range motor. But it's that potted motor, that gear-to-gear direct drive, that when a machine is prepared properly and restored properly, the 201-2 can outsew other machines that have much bigger motors for that very reason. So at any rate, he said, do you have any 201-2s left? And I said, I don't. I'm totally out. I said, I'm preparing one right now for a gal down in Mississippi. I'm preparing another one. Let me check. I don't remember where she's from. Hold on a second. Oh, where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So I'm preparing one for Elaine, who is down in Louisville, Mississippi. And then the only one I had left, I ended up preparing for Anna, who is out of Arlington, Virginia. Shout out to Anna from Arlington, Virginia. And also a shout out to Elaine from Louisville. You always think of another place when you hear Louisville, right? But Elaine is from Louisville, Mississippi. I think it's Louisville, Kentucky that's so famous, right? And so I said to John, John, I don't have any left. He said, well, I would trust your expert eye to source one, to do all the vetting that you do. I've told you guys about this. If I'm going to buy a machine unseen, other than like photos or a video clip or something like that, even if it's from somebody that I bought from before, and again, my goal is always to buy an original owner machine. That means I can trace the provenance back to when that person or that family bought that machine brand new. It's never left the family. And so I did a lot of searching, and I finally found the machine that I thought would fit the bill. It was original owner. I had a really, really long conversation with the owner of it, and the owner happens to be from Oklahoma, and it'd been in the family from the very beginning, from around 1951, if that gives you a clue as to what we might be unboxing today. And for John, he's not driven by the aesthetics. He's not driven by a machine that looks really pretty. That would be a bonus, but he's driven by a machine that will outpace any other machine out there. He wants strength. He wants vitality. He wants ooh. And so that'll be my focus with this machine. I'll probably make it gorgeous anyway, but this machine is going to have a lot of grit when I get done with it. I'm going to do some upgrades to the motor. I'm going to do a lot of electrical work on it as well, and make sure that it has a Spitfire attitude when I get done with it. So I've already let a lot out of the bag, didn't I? I've already told you pretty much what we're going to be unboxing. I mentioned the fact that John wanted a Rolls-Royce of Singer sewing machines. He wanted a 201-2, didn't have any. Finally found the one that I handpicked for him down in Oklahoma. And then I mentioned 1951. Is that a significant date in Singer's history? It might be. It might be. So let's see what I picked out for my friend, John Hartzell, who is, by the way, I didn't mention, he's from the great state that is kind of northeast. Anyone want to type in any guesses as to where John might be from? So this machine came from Oklahoma, and then it's eventually going to find a home in the northeast of the United States. Go ahead and throw some guesses out just for fun, if you would. And I'll give you a big help here. I'll give you the city of the state that he is from. That'll probably help you zero in on it a little bit. So he is from the city of Higganum. Higganum. I'll spell it because that's kind of an unusual name, isn't it? Higganum. Higgum. Higgum. N-U-M. Yeah, that's where John is from. And this will eventually be John's machine. So let's see what we find. Let's see what we find. All the way from Oklahoma. Yeah. And I'll just kind of rotate this so you can look at the box a little bit. Again, I'm not a, sorry guys, I just bumped into the doctor and his wife. I'm not a big fan of cardboard, but this one actually coming all the way from Oklahoma survived pretty well. There's no punch throughs. And I've got to give credit to UPS. I've got to give credit to UPS. This came by way of UPS. That's how this gentleman from Oklahoma sent it. So yeah, UPS treated it pretty nicely. And there's not even any fragile stickers on it. They just, they were very kind to this box. Let's see what Emma wrote. So Emma wrote Connecticut. What a brilliant guess. And Emma happens to be correct. That's where John Hartzell is from. Or if I'm going to be formal, John Hartzell II. Apparently his father was also John Hartzell. I think it works out that way, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. So he is from Higganum, if I'm saying that correctly. And there's probably, I'll get a nasty note from someone in Connecticut that says, it's not Higganum. But how else would you pronounce a name like that? I mean, look at how it's written. Emma typed it, I think, in the chat. If she didn't, she can do that. How else would you pronounce it other than Higganum? So, but if anyone wants to type anything interesting in the chat about Higganum, Connecticut, other than Emma, because Emma's like out there already doing all the legwork for us. Someone else wants to step out of the shadows and type something really interesting about Higganum, Connecticut. And you reach out after this live stream, I'll send you something special. I really will. And anyone that's ever gotten something special from me for jumping in and providing an answer on an impromptu basis, I've sent some really, really, really cool stuff out. So yeah, give it a go. All right, let's get this open. So I wonder what, I mentioned 1951. What could that possibly mean about what we're about to unbox? And again, I say this all the time. If you order a sewing machine, and you'll never get a sewing machine pack like this from me, it'll be in a tote. But if you get another sewing machine, always kind of push down on that top a little bit before you cut into it, just to make sure there's a little bit of a cushion of space between the contents and the top of that box flap. This seems to be a pretty heavy box though. Yeah, that's got some really good corrugation on the edges. Not one of those cheapy ones like we've gotten here before that looks like the person probably packed the machine after they emptied it of toilet paper. You know what I'm talking about, the toilet paper boxes? Those are horrible. All right, let's check this out. I'm not a real big fan of styrofoam. You guys know that by now. And as we kind of look into the box, I'll show you kind of what I'm looking at already. Not my recommended packing method. Not my recommended packing method. The problem with styrofoam is, number one, it's really messy. And I tend to be a real tidy person. So I hate working with this stuff because it's got that static cling and it goes everywhere when you're pulling it out of a box like this. The other reason is styrofoam gets really brittle over time, and so it has really no cushion factor at all for the sewing machine. It has no cushion factor. And so the problem with that is if it takes a hit or it's dropped, it's not going to provide any real protection for that machine. So I don't recommend this stuff. And the only time that I recommend using it potentially is maybe on the bottom of the machine. And then you take that styrofoam, kind of like this piece right here. See what I mean? You take that styrofoam and you wrap it with some sort of packing tape to give it rigidity and to give it more stability so that it doesn't break up like this in transit. Otherwise, it's just kind of worthless. It's kind of like window dressing for packing. And we can already see the machine, so we know that this person that I got the machine from down in Oklahoma does not embrace the idea of cocooning the machine like I've shown you in all of the packing videos. So it'll be interesting to see what we find down on the bottom once we get to it. Yeah, we'll see what we find. So John, if you're watching this, don't have a heart attack. If there's anything wrong with the machine, I'll make it right. But the beauty of following a good packing method like mine is that you can avoid having to receive a machine and then do repairs on it, right? Avoid the hassle. There's enough stress in life by itself. This is obviously a person that likes buying on eBay. I even see some eBay wrapping stuff. Yeah, not a fan of styrofoam. All right, give you kind of a look in the bottom of the box as we're going through this. And obviously when you ship a machine, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of common sense, but you're not going to have the presser foot lever in the up position where it can bounce back and forth and go into either the side of the box if it goes all the way through, or go into the styrofoam that you have to pad the side. You always ship it with the presser foot lever down, and you have something underneath that presser foot, a piece of cloth with the needle bar at the lowest position so it's down into the material. That's just a smart way to ship it so that you don't bend the needle, and you don't potentially, if something really bad happens, you don't bend that needle bar. So yeah, this is, you can give a rating in the chat if you want. Type into the chat, compared to our packing method that I've shown you on this channel, compared to our packing method, if you were to rate a packing method with a 10 as it's, wow, that's amazing. That packing method is off the charts. Scott could learn something from that individual. Yes, he could, because he's always a student and sometimes a teacher. But how would you rate this packing method? One being downright crappy. Yes, I said crappy on this channel. Downright crappy, to 10 being wow, amazing, off the charts. So type in the chat what you think of this packing method so far from our friend that I got this machine from down in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, yeah. I like this jazz music. This is perfect for a Saturday. Perfect music for a Saturday. There we go. Wow, Emma gave this packing method a 6. That's pretty impressive. And Emma's saying, what's the significance of 1951? Yeah, this is going to be a Centennial Singer model. And you pretty much know what model it is already, don't you? I've given you a good look of it. All right, let's get the rest of the way out of the box and check it out. I think Emma is being very generous. I would not give this a 6 as far as packing, to be honest with you. I'd be like around a 4, probably. I'd be much closer to a 4. See what I'm saying? So down on the bottom, we've got our layer of protection is one piece of styrofoam. And again, if you look around the box, you can kind of see what I'm saying as far as what happens to styrofoam when you're shipping. Not to mention it gets into all the orifices of the sewing machine as well. It's going to work its way up the bottom of the pillar and get into all the mechanics that go up to the main shaft. It's going to get into the electrical areas. It's just a real messy packing material to work with. All right, let's get this out of the box and check it out. I'm going to show you the bottom of this box. So once the weight of the machine compresses into this piece of styrofoam, what you have protecting that machine from all of the shock and the vibrations and the impact and everything of this being tossed onto cement floors and UPS buildings and thrown under the metal bed of those big UPS trucks, after all is said and done, you've got probably about that much protection, about 2 or 3 millimeters after those pedestal feet have crushed and compressed that styrofoam. So you got little or no protection then. And again, when a machine is that heavy and it's being moved or shuffled or in some cases tossed onto floors, all of the shock is going to go straight up that pedestal foot all the way throughout the machine. That's why our packing method protects it, especially on the bottom and on the top. That's where it's most likely to get damaged. Yeah, I'm not impressed. I might even go to a three at this point as far as rating the packing method. And it's not just because this stuff is so irritating and it sticks to everything. It's just not going to provide good protection for the machine. You can see the same thing over here as well. It's actually gone all the way through. And the same thing over here and there. See that? It's actually broken all the way through on these sides. Ah! And that's it. And then you got the bottom of the box that's going to be hitting those cement floors and those metal truck beds. So, yeah, not a fan of this packing job so far. Nope. All right, let me get this out of the way. So apart from the styrofoam, this is it. This is the packing method right here that this individual used to get this Centennial 201-2 to the workshop. It's dented in pretty good. As you're cutting through, just kind of angle the scissors away from the body of the machine so you don't damage the machine, or cut through one of the cords that happens to be right here, kind of wrapped across the top of the machine. I always look at the possibilities of a machine when it's coming into the workshop, whether it belongs to a customer and I'm repairing and restoring it for them, or if it's a machine like this that I purchased on behalf of a customer that I'm going to restore and get it out to them. This machine has incredible possibilities. And even though John from Connecticut, that this machine is going to get prepared for, doesn't really care about the appearance of the machine, I'm probably going to clear coat this anyway because the decaling on it is really quite gorgeous. It's got a lot of varnishing on it, but all in all, it's a beautiful looking machine in my mind's eye as I'm looking at it. Even the decal work back here is beautifully intact. So I always like surprising a customer, even if they say they don't care about the appearance. I don't think they're going to send me a nasty note saying, hey, you know what? I didn't want it to be beautiful, and look at what you did. It's not going to happen. So, oh, hey, Roz. Welcome, Roz. I thought that was still Emma just chatting all by her lonesome. God bless her. But thankfully, Roz popped in. And so Roz and Emma are in the live chat right now. But we've got other folks sitting in the shadows. When you're ready, step out and meet these great folks. These ladies are amazing. Roz, a fourth generation quilter, and Emma from Naples, Florida, who has a crazy collection of sewing machines. All right, let's keep going and checking this machine out. I've got to get my little vacuum. Hold on a second. Some of you that are kind of in my inner circle and you know me quite well, I'm really a tidy guy. I like things to be tidy, so this is bugging me right now. All of this stuff. We're gonna get it. Yeah, it's all over the bottom of the machine too. See, this is why I cocoon. This is why I cocoon the machines with stretch wrap and then reinforce it with the packing tape, because all of this works its way into the bottom of the machine. There's interlacing worm gears in the pedestals. It gets into there. It creates a big mess, doesn't it? I'm not a fan of this stuff. Ugh. I'll get the rest of this tidied up with a bigger vacuum later. So I see a lot of potential with John's machine. It's obviously it's kind of fallen into some disrepair as it's been in this family. Probably was stored in a shed or stored in the basement. I don't remember exactly what this individual told me as far as where it was being kept. But some real possibilities, don't you agree? Some real possibilities. And again, when you're working with a machine, and if you're going to say send it to someone, if you're going to use some sort of a tape to hold something down on the machine, to hold it in place, kind of like they did with this cord on top, use a tape that's safe for the surface of the machine. You can see that the tape that they used, which was a common boxing tape for shipping, it leaves a sticky, nasty residue all over the paint patina. So yeah, don't use that kind of tape. Use like a painter's tape or something equivalent to that. That would be the best choice. And I'm just curious to get an idea. Again, this is an original owner machine, but the owner that got it originally back in 1951 has been gone for a while. And I'm just curious, if I were to take this screw off and remove this balance wheel, what we might find inside of that reservoir that comes off of the motor. Kind of curious about that. Yeah, let's take it off and take a look. On 201-2s and on 1591s, I can usually assess pretty quick how well a machine has been maintained when I look inside of here. This is going to be the guts of the machine, and a lot of people aren't comfortable servicing this part of the machine. They'll oil it, they'll do other things to maintain the machine, but they don't do much in here coming off of this potted motor. So let's see what we find. It looks like it hasn't received any real grease at all for quite some time. Look at how dry that gear is right there. Let me grab one of my dental tools. So your first impression when you look up here is it looks really tidy. It doesn't have a lot of excess buildup, but look at the quality of the grease that's lubricating those essential gears. You see that? It's totally dried out, so it's not providing any protection at all to those essential gears that are inside this space, this little cavity right here that comes off and it interlaces with the balance wheel. If you never understood the mechanics of a 201-2 or a 1591, there's a gear that comes off of the potted motor right here. You can kind of see it again. I'll show it to you. And then when the balance wheel slides on, these meshing gears right here slide over the other gear, and that's what powers the machine. And you'll notice Singer was smart, realizing that you've got to have a little bit of a flux. Yeah, it's not real clean. You got to have a little bit of a flux when it comes to that interlacing balance wheel. So you'll notice that this is spring loaded right here, so that when that motor kicks in, it allows a little bit of flux, almost like the equivalent of managing the clutch on an old manual car. When you release that clutch, if you release that clutch too quickly, what happens? The tires spin, right? And you get no traction. So by having this little bit of a flux point on here, and this has to all be taken apart too in service so that it does its job properly. But by this fluxing, it allows that power to kind of engage and then just begins to turn that balance wheel with a lot of force, but with fluidity at the same time. So it doesn't, just jam it. It doesn't just jam. It allows it to engage with some degree of control. Yeah, brilliant design. I love it. But again, dirt is not the friend of our vintage sewing machines, so this is going to need a lot of tender loving care, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's just not going together well. It's really, there we go. That's your clutch retainer right there. On any clutch retainer type ring like this, on any sewing machine, you always want to make sure that you orientate it correctly. This one is really easy because it has the little dimples that obviously face out, and these act as the stopping point for the stop action, right? And when that little pin right here engages one of these points, it's going to stop so that you don't keep turning and have this come off. But on a lot of clutch retainer rings, they don't have it foolproof like this where you can immediately know which way it faces. The simplest way to know is if you look at it from the side, you'll see that these two little points in the middle are kind of flanged out. They're flanged out and up. And that's the way you always want to have the flange part facing out, because when the stop action screws in, it compresses these little flanges so that they go into this joining point on the main shaft right here. And that's what ensures that that main shaft is fully engaged with that stop action clutch. If you have it facing the opposite way, like this, it's going to create a lot of problems because you're going to have that balance wheel turning when you're trying to wind a bobbin. So always have them so the flange is facing out, and you'll be in great shape. And this also has to be serviced as well, obviously. So a lot of servicing on these machines. Just curious of our lighting system. We've got a bulb in there. This right here is for the foot controller. The wiring is dry, but it's not in horrible shape, but I'll replace all of this for John anyway. When it starts to get rigid like that, you know it's only one step away from all of that insulation on the outside will start cracking, and then you'll have bare wires. Yeah, some real possibilities. I'm just going to real quick check the lighting system. And if you ever want to, if you've got a machine where you're not sure about the overall electrical, but you want to at least check to see if the lighting assembly is working, on the Singers, the power points or the power zones are going to be zone 1 and 3, or if you're looking in a mirror, zone 1 and 3. Yeah, probably like that. So we can do a bypass and check that. Just some good old alligator clips. And obviously make sure that these are in such a way that they're not going to be touching each other. Otherwise, you'll blow a breaker or have something else exciting happening. So let's see what we get. Make sure that these are not making contact either. There we go. We're going to check our switch at the same time. On the 201s, they've got this brilliant little switch, kind of like the featherweights. And just because the light works doesn't mean that the wiring is safe. So that'll be another part of the process of getting this machine ready for John, is to make sure that wiring that runs up through the pillar and works its way over to the light doesn't have any stiff or rigid points in it where that coating is starting to break down. The insulation on wiring is so critical, and a lot of people will neglect that, especially inside of the potted motor as well. You've got to really be mindful of that. Now we can also do a bypass as well for the motor too. Oh, hello to, I don't know what her name is, his or her name. Rabo Was. I have no idea. Oh yeah, welcome from Minnesota. Minnesota is such a beautiful state, isn't it? It is. It is a brilliant state. So we can also try to do a bypass, and I'm going to disengage the clutch. Oh, Rebecca. Welcome, Rebecca. Rebecca is such a beautiful name, isn't it? So I'm going to disengage the clutch so we take the maximum load off of this 201-2. from 1951. And if you're ever working with a machine like this and you disengage the clutch, the stop action, see how it's disengaged now, rotating it to the back, it's going to be engaged, rotating it to the front. Right now we should be getting balance movement, but we shouldn't be getting any needle bar movement, right? But we sort of are a little bit. See it kind of wiggling down there? It's wiggling a little bit. It's usually a sign of cleanliness. The machine is dirty. It's got some gumming inside of the balance wheel joining point that runs down the main shaft. And if you take all that apart and clean it thoroughly, you usually can eliminate that little needle bar movement. If it's real stiff, kind of come back a little bit. If it's real stiff, you can actually hold the needle bar and rotate the balance wheel at the same time. And sometimes that will free it up as well. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, we're still getting a little bit, but that's, see, it's starting to eke up. It's alive! It's alive! Ah. So yeah, that's a matter of the machine desperately needing a good service. It's got a lot of deferred maintenance on it, and that even happens with original owner machines, because once that original owner that was the sewist passes away or no longer has possession of the machine, a lot of the other family members, while they recognize the intrinsic value of that machine, having been moms or grandmas or aunties or whoever, they're not going to have the knowledge or the desire or the passion to maintain that machine. And that's where we come in as enthusiasts for VSM, is we make it right. And that's what we do here in the workshop. Right, guys? Reggie's always raising his hands up in victory. Yeah, you know it, baby. You know it. So, yeah, I'll get this absolutely spot on. But look at this badge mark right now. Boy, is it in a sorry state. It doesn't have any of the glory of the centennial year, does it? Oh, let's call her Becky then. From this point forward, I decree that Rebecca is now Becky. Welcome, Becky from Minnesota. Yeah, perfectly ended with the music too. Who knew? There we go. Becky. Okay. All right. So, at any rate, the Centennial Badge is really in a sorry state, isn't it? And don't make the mistake of my friend who also is from Oklahoma and had a Centennial Badge like this. And he was like, I want to tidy it up and clean it up. The difference between the Centennial badges and the other badge marks that Singer used that were primarily made out of, what material were most of the badge marks made out of that Singer put on the front of the machines as an adornment to really catch people's eyes on the front of that pillar? What did they make those out of? Those regular badge marks like you would find on most Singer sewing machines. Yeah, Emma's correct. They would make them out of typically a copper material, and it wasn't pure copper. They would mix other alloys into it, but the base of it, for polishing purposes, was a copper base. And so generally they're not super tricky to restore and to clean up and to give the brilliance back to them again. Right now, this one is lacking brilliance big time. It just doesn't have the majesty of what you would expect to find on a Centennial machine. The tricky thing about these Centennial badge marks and some of the other badge marks that were specialty badge marks that Singer made is they used multiple components, including resins, to get the color accentuation of the badge. And so you can't use anything that could be damaging to, say, a polymer type material, something that'll cause it to melt, something that will cause it to break down or become brittle. You've got to treat it very, very gently and very, very carefully and take the layers off one by one. And the safest thing to use on a badge mark like this is going to be sewing machine oil or a mixture of sewing machine oil and kerosene. We'll begin to take these layers off, but do not use a Dremel with, say, a polishing brush. You'll strip that resin right off of there. And like my friend down in Oklahoma, it's kind of weird that this machine came from Oklahoma, but a friend that reached out to me privately and said, look at what I did, ended up taking off all of that beautiful colored resin that gives a field of blue around the Centennial badge mark. And now it's just a plain copper, flat, nothing spectacular type badge mark on there. So just be aware of that. Be aware of that. And it's as simple as, where's my kerosene stuff? This is kind of my own little private blend in my little red bottle. My little red bottle has a combination of kerosene and machine oil, and then a couple of other little tricks of the trade in there. But it's as simple as just spritzing it on there, kind of like I'm doing right there. And then slowly, I usually go in one motion, one direction to start. Just kind of rubbing over it gently. Keep that nice and dampened. And we're not going to get anything like, wow, it's amazing, it's a one-step thing. It takes patience. Any of you that have done cleaning on machines and kind of getting them tidied up and getting them serviceable know that it's not a snap your fingers and you're done. So I usually go vertical like this, and then I go horizontal to the music, of course. To the music. Hello. I don't go in a circle, and I'll tell you why. A circle puts too much pressure on one point. Because when you go in a circle, you're usually going to be pressing in and going in a circle, and you can actually, this also has a light coat of clear coat on it. You can actually take the clear coat off. So I would just recommend going in a single direction vertically and then horizontally. Also, by doing this, you generally are going to be pushing, you're going to be pushing the crud off instead of just kind of swirling the crud around in a circle. You know what I mean? So already with very, very little effort, I mean, we've only swiped it a couple of times, right? Gotten all of that off, and it's a lot darker here in the workshop than you can probably see on the camera. And look at what we've already started to do to this badge mark, and there's a lot more work to be done, obviously. It's starting to come to life, and this is what I love about sitting down to a vintage sewing machine, and all of you being fellow teachers and fellow enthusiasts can do the same thing to your machines wherever you're located, anywhere in the world. But just with a little bit of effort, we didn't damage that resin. We maintained the beautiful luster of that blue field around it, and we've already started to bring this badge mark back to life. It's almost kind of putting the rest of the machine to shame right now, because look at that bed. Yeah. So, ooh, this is a fun song. I wish I had been cleaning to this song. I really would have kicked that baby in. So if anybody wants to look up this machine for fun, and right now the serial plate is also really nasty looking. Hopefully you can see that in the shot. So if someone wants to type that into the chat and someone wants to look it up for fun, that would be totally awesome. It looks like AK548 510. AK548 510. And the tricky thing about Centennial machines is they were not just made in 1951. When you're looking at rolling out a machine like this to celebrate 100 years at Singer, you're going to be beginning the manufacturing of the machines much earlier than 1951. You're going to be going back probably as far as 1949. So some of these machines, when you look them up, they actually will show you a date other than 1951. So if you ever have somebody that tries to make you feel ignorant and they're like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. A Centennial machine was made in 1951. That's the only year. Nope, not true. They were made as early as 1949. And when Singer would serialize the machines, they generally will have that exact manufacturing date, not the centennial year of 1951. So it'll be interesting to see what you find when you look this one up. So back to this side of the machine. Back to the side of this machine. We've already done a light test, and we saw that the electric is working from this junction point to the light itself. Our light came on. If we want to do a bypass to check the motor, I'm first of all going to inspect the wiring very carefully. Make sure we don't have any breaks in the wiring. I'm also going to take this off and just double check the backside too. Better safe than sorry. Okay, so the wiring on the back looks safe enough. I'm not seeing any breaks. I'm not seeing any bare wires like we sometimes get. And I was talking about connecting it right now for the lighting. If I wanted to do a bypass and check just the lighting, I kind of joked around and I said we connect it to 3 and 1 or 1 and 3, depending on how you're looking at it. If you look at the back of this junction point, 3 is going to be on the far left side. 1 is going to be on the far right side as it's mounted to the machine. So if you're doing a light bypass, you're going to be connecting it to 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. If we're going to be testing the motor without plugging in the foot controller and everything, because right now we've got the wires, but we've got no foot controller connected to it, we can do a bypass. Generally, it's going to work nicely if we do a bypass to zones 1 and 2. 1 and 2, depending on how they wired it, because you can do a split. This is going to be our power, our neutral, and then we can either do a split between foot controller being on 3 and 2 and motor being on 1 and 2, or you can do it the opposite way. So we'll try 1 and 2 first to do a bypass to see if we can fire up this potted motor. This is a fun song. I'm going to call this my Saturday groove song. My Saturday groove song. Yeah. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you to Roz. Thank you to Roz and Emma for actually looking it up. So in this case, they're actually giving this Centennial machine a 1951 birthday. 1951, which would have been the centennial year. You will find exceptions to that where you'll get a machine year date of 1950 or maybe as early as 1949. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. But again, I'm not going to run the motor much because look at what we got out of there. See if that helps. So the lubrication on the potted motor is real poor right now. We're not going to do a lot. But we're going to move these leads now from 1 and 3 over to 1 and 2. And I'm going to be really careful that we don't get any contact to touching them. Just make sure that you got a good separation between those leads. All right, let's see what we get. See if we get a balance wheel turning. I'm not getting anything, nothing at all right now. I'm just going to double check that we've got electricity. So they may have it wired differently. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the electricity. We tried zones 1 and 2. Now we're going to try zones 2 and 3. So 1 and 3 didn't work to try to do a motor test bypass. Now we're going to try zones 2 and 3 and see what we get. Again, there are different options for wiring a Singer sewing machine. So we're going to try option 2 now. If that doesn't work, then I've got a motor issue that I'll have to address. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is called success. And again, whenever you're running a sewing machine like this, whether you're doing a bypass or otherwise, always have that presser foot in the up position like I do right there. Otherwise, the bottom of that presser foot attachment is going to be going against those feed dogs. It's going to dull the feed dogs, and it's going to cause potential scratching or marring on the bottom of that presser foot, which will cause issues when you're trying to feed material. So always have your presser foot up. But our bypass for the motor worked beautifully. So on this particular one, with the way it's currently wired, for a motor bypass test, you want to connect your leads directly to zones 2 and 3. And yes, I have it unplugged right now. Always being safe, always being safe. So again, see how that came loose? Yikes. Stay. So again, for some of you that are not real comfortable with electricity, let me set that down. This is what your bypass for the motor will look like on this one. Again, depending on how they set it up, how they split the foot controller and the motor, if zones 2 and 3 don't work, then move your leads over to 1 and 2, like we had first that we tried and it didn't work. All right, let's fire it up one more time real quick. Can you hear that? Let me shut off the music real quick. Music down. And that is deferred maintenance screaming out saying, help. That's metal on metal. And right now we're getting some bad rubbing. I'll do it real quick. I won't strain the machine or stress it. So this machine is in the right place. I'm glad that it's no longer in Oklahoma. Nothing wrong with Oklahoma. I love the state, love the people, but it needed to come here and get some workshop magic. So let's move on. I've been blah blahing about this Centennial machine that I purchased from the original owner down in Oklahoma for my friend John out of the great state of Connecticut. And I haven't taken this other machine out yet to show you. But this is our Centennial 201-2. If you join the live stream a little bit late, you'll want to rewind and kind of watch what we did to begin to bring life back to this badge mark. And again, the big deal about the Centennial and specialty badge marks is they used a combination of copper and resins. Resins is a fancy word for plastics. So be really careful about not using something caustic or chemically aggressive on your badge mark if you have a Centennial badge mark or a specialty badge mark. You'll end up damaging it. So there you go. All right, let's get this off the workbench and get the other box up here and begin the unboxing of that. All right, let's get this cleaned off. I even have styrofoam stuck to my legs. Ah! Ah! All right, let's get this other box up here. And the story behind this box is a fun one to share. Let me get this camera higher up again. So I believe that Becca said that she's from Minnesota, didn't she? I think Becca said she's from Minnesota. And this particular machine was shipped by Maureen from Minnesota as well. And she is from, maybe Becca knows this town. I bet you Becca knows this town. I don't know this town. But it's from Woodbury, Minnesota. Woodbury, 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 Woodbury. I think that's how you would say it. So the story on this machine is a story that has been told before on this channel, and that is, this also is an original owner machine. It was owned by Maureen's mom. And so the machine is affectionately named Gretchen because Maureen's mom was Gretchen. So it'll be fun to get this out. And I know that Maureen was very nervous, not because of not trusting me, but not trusting shipping a treasure like this, even though it's just from Minnesota to Wisconsin. So I told her, as soon as it arrived, I said it looks to be in generally very, very good condition. There's no punch throughs on the side of the box. I'm trying to give you a shot here. There's no punch throughs on the side of the box, and it was packed by UPS. So we are on a UPS trend today. Our Centennial machine that came from Oklahoma was also packed and shipped by UPS, or at least it was shipped by UPS. I can't say that it was packed. I believe that the gentleman that I dealt with is the one that did the packing, and then he shipped it via UPS. The only thing that causes me a little bit of concern, and I think you can see it in the shot, is when you're working with cardboard, you always want to leave enough of a cushion around the contents inside the vintage machine that you're not going to have any bulging. Because bulging on a box like this means that part of that machine or something inside is pressing out against the cardboard, which makes it vulnerable, especially when it's on top or on the bottom. So I'm not sure what's going on with this, but we'll find out soon enough. So if you're determined and resolute to use cardboard, leave at least a 1.5 to 2 inch cushion of protection around the sewing machine inside, and certainly do a better job than our friend did from Oklahoma in just putting a little chunk of styrofoam on the bottom to protect that machine. And you saw what happened to the styrofoam. So, all right. Oh, I stand corrected. Maureen, I was not just trying to ease your mind. I didn't notice this as I carried it down, but there is a slight punch through right here. And we can actually see, if you look in carefully, we can actually see part of the packing material in there. And again, the different UPS locations, I'm guessing that they use pretty standard packing materials across their footprint. But this one, compared to the Oklahoma box, I showed you the Oklahoma one, and the lid was probably a good 7 or 8 millimeters thick. This one is really quite thin. And with a single finger, I probably, yeah, just a single finger, I can pull it back. It's quite thin. So feedback to UPS is use better boxes. Use better boxes. The corrugation on this UPS box is pretty crummy. It's pretty crummy actually when you compare it to the one that we just unboxed from Oklahoma. So they're not all created equal. So yeah, if you're going to use a cardboard box, be really particular about what type you pick out. All right, checking my shot. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I agree, Oz. Fingers crossed, toes crossed. So we'll see. But yeah, this is not, UPS is what, I can't even imagine, a multi-billion-dollar company. And maybe somebody up at the corporate ladder said, let's use cheaper boxes. We can save, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's what happens that's what happens. All right, let's check it out. So get ready to meet Gretchen. Get ready to meet Gretchen. And I'm not feeling a lot of freedom of movement on top of here, so I'm going to make my blade really short. I'm going to make it very, very short. Oh, that's a relief. So the pushing up is because the corrugation of this cardboard is so poor, and it was just one of those airbag things right on the inside. I was hoping it wasn't the machine. Yeah, these only traveled from Minnesota, so they actually fared pretty well. I don't think any of them popped. All right, let me set these to the side. I'll give you a glimpse inside of the box. So this is good to see, isn't it? You've got a space of clearance here on the side of probably, what is that distance? Maybe about 3.5 to 4 inches from here to here. A real nice cushion of protection. On this edge, we don't have quite as much clearance, but there still is. It's not, you never want to have the machine pressing against the edge of the box. So here we also have some extra clearance. Just try to keep the machine safe. And over here, we've got another one of those bubble pack things. And they also put one of those bubble pack things on the bottom also. You'll see it down here. And these, if they're single chamber, it's not necessarily a bad thing to use it on the bottom. And you can see that here we have the machine in a case and it's kind of laying on its side. But if some of these bubble pack things come with all the chambers are connected. And so if you pop one, like this one here, see if I can pop it with my left hand. Oh, that's actually pretty good stuff. There we go. So if we pop one, then on some of these designs, they all go flat all the way across. So this, thankfully, well, it looks like these two are conjoined. these two are conjoined. So if we pop one here, we lose the one on the bottom, but the other ones are independent. So again, if you don't want to use my packing method that I would argue is fairly well proven, I've used it to ship around the world and have never had a machine arrive damaged. Then just choose your packing materials carefully. If you're going to use these, and I understand they're kind of convenient and easy because they're bulky and you just slide it in, boom, you're done. But make sure that they're not all conjoined as far as the chamber, because if you lose one, you'll lose them all. So, all right, let me set the camera down again. Get a little bit more music, playing. Genre. We listen to some jazz. Now let's do classical. I don't know what classical means. I know what classical music is, but sometimes classical music has a lot of different sub genres too, doesn't it? Subgenres. Let's see what we have. All right. Well, and my point is well taken. Let me show you this airbag system on the bottom that they used as the only buffer between the machine that is, it's kind of cocooned. It's kind of cocooned on the outside. But watch what happened to these airbags on the bottom from the weight of this machine. And again, when you're shipping by UPS, it's going to be, the box is going to be hitting cement beds inside of their big brown trucks. It's going to be hitting cement floors, metal floors in the trucks as well. Yeah, if I said cement floors in the trucks, that's probably not that's not correct. They're probably getting like 1 mile to the gallon or something like that if they have cement floors. I don't think they do in their trucks. So, but let me lift this out. And I'll show you what happened to these airbags in the bottom. So here we have our airbag system that UPS used in shipping Gretchen to the workshop from Minnesota. All of these. Not these right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seven of the airbags that are protecting the machine from the bottom are flat as a pancake. They're all popped. The only ones that are intact are the ones that are on the side over here, on the top edge right here, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, correction, that one's flat too. That one's flat also. So 1, 2, 3, really only three on the bottom that survived the journey, only coming from Minnesota to Wisconsin. So we have 1, 2, I guess we only have really technically 2 that survived. This one and this one right here. The rest of these are all compromised, except for the outer edges. So this is why, again, you got to be real careful about relying on one packing material to be your safeguard for the vintage sewing machine, because in this instance, I'm not a mathematician. All of you know that. I know we've got mathematicians in the live stream right now and probably in the shadows as well. But we have a total on the entire bottom here of the chamber. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We have 18 chambers. And out of the 18 chambers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are compromised too. 9, 10. Out of 18, 10 of them have been compromised, only coming the short distance from Woodbury, Minnesota to Oconto, Wisconsin. That's a pretty huge loss of protection, especially in a critical area like the bottom of the box. So I'm only harping on this to emphasize that if a major corporation like UPS can think that this is sufficient, and out of 18 chambers, we lost arguably about 10 of them. Someone want to do the percentage that's really good at math? If we had 18 and we lost 10, what percentage was remaining to protect Gretchen on the bottom of the machine or on the bottom of the box? 18 and 10 were lost. So, all right, let me get this out of the way and we'll get Gretchen up on the workbench. I was just looking at the chat real quick to see if I had to respond to anything, but it doesn't look like we do. So, all right, let's get Gretchen open here. So typically when I'm packing a machine like this that's in a case, on the outside of the case, I'll have about 4 to 6 layers of bubble wrap, and then I go over that with stretch wrap, and then I go over that with packing tape to reinforce it and make it a single unit. On this one from UPS, it looks like they used 2 layers of bubble wrap on the outside of the case. They thought that was sufficient. I would argue that it's not. I would go at least 2 times that thickness, especially if you're going to be relying on those airbags as the interior, final front of protecting this machine that's cocooned. If you're only going to be using that sort of padding between the outside of the box on the inside, then I would go at least 4 layers, maybe 6. So it takes a little bit more time, a little bit more materials, but it can make a big difference. Now, some of you that are really savvy and watch a lot of the videos or are part of the live streams and premieres on this channel, you might already recognize what this case is and possibly what it has inside. If you want to just toss out a guess for fun, no judgment, go ahead and do that as to what model and maker you think might have put a machine in this type of case. And there were other manufacturers that used similar cases to this, but this might be a telltale sign for you. This might be a telltale sign. See, I always say cut carefully. See, we have some keys right here that Maureen put on top of the case and just kind of taped to it. So I'm going to set these to the side so they don't get thrown away accidentally. Oh, hello to Michelle too. Hello to Michelle. And whose mom is having issues? I saw that Emma had written something about someone's mom. I'm going to try to read the chat real quick. Oh, it's Michelle's mom. Michelle, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. Oh, and welcome to Mickey Potts as well. I don't think I said good morning or welcome to Mickey yet. Yeah, hopefully I didn't miss saying hello to anyone else. Oh, cancer is a horrible thing. That's what took my mom too. My mother was my mom was only in her 50s when she passed away from cancer. Well, miracles can still happen, so we don't know what the result will be, but we'll definitely keep Michelle's mom in thought and prayer. So I think it was Emma had typed Husqvarna, which if you're brand new to vintage, Husqvarna is a sewing machine company that rolled out its first sewing machine right around 1872. But prior to that was manufacturing other items dating all the way back to the 1600s. And so a lot of people will argue that the Husqvarna sewing machine company from Sweden is in fact the oldest sewing machine company as far as roots of the company in the world. And I think that they would be right. But as long as you recognize they didn't actually start making sewing machines until 1872, which would have been about 21 years after Singer made their first sewing machine right around 1851. So you know what? I commend UPS for making an effort. And this is not typical for UPS. I'm guessing that Maureen either gave them a link to one of my packing videos to show them this cocooning approach, or a lot of the UPS locations have already heard about us because we've either dealt with them or our customers have dealt with them. Sorry, I'm like a kid. I'm popping. Yeah. Does anyone else do this? If you have this bubble wrap, you just can't help yourself but kind of pop it a little bit. Yeah, I do. If anyone's ever seen the movie with Dustin Hoffman, where he plays Mr. Megorium, and the movie I think is called Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, he's got this bucket list of things he wants to do before he shuffles off his mortal coil, before he dies. And one of those things is to dance on bubble wrap. We should all add that to our bucket list. Don't you agree? Isn't that a great thing to have on a bucket list, is dancing on bubble wrap? I think we should all try it. Yeah, I might try it right now. You never know. Yeah. It was more exciting in the movie, but it's still fun. Yeah. Well, Emma was correct. Oh, I see now why Maureen she put the keys in a bag, is she had this string on here, and the string is pretty much dry rotted, so they would have fallen off and maybe been thrown away. All right. Yeah, I think the case is in really good shape, isn't it? Oh, welcome to Vanessa Jones. Welcome, Vanessa Jones. Hey, I don't know if I've seen Vanessa Jones before. Vanessa, if you're new or you've been in the shadows and you're just stepping into the light to meet everybody, welcome. It's so great to have you here. We're always glad to have folks join for the first time, and maybe my leadership team can correct me if I'm mistaken and you've been here before, but your name looks new. When I heard Vanessa, I thought right away of Vanessa. There's another Vanessa that we know that's been coming to premieres and live streams for a while. So yeah, welcome. So on these type of cases, just so you don't open it the wrong way, you can see you can orientate this like this or like this, and it would be pretty obvious to most people. Yeah, Roz is right. I hadn't really specifically noted, but even the stitching is still nicely intact on Gretchen's case. Beautiful stitching. Now, when you get a stitch this big, we talk about, the Husqvarnas and some of the other machines will do 5 stitches per inch. And we think of that as huge, right? I wonder what this is. I'm just curious real quick. So these stitches on the case, you're looking at about a little bit less than 3 stitches per inch. 3 stitches per inch. So that was done by a very, very special machine, wasn't it? Beautiful stitch work, actually. Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? Let's turn this a little bit more so that I'm not hitting the edge of the case that I have on there. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so my point when I got distracted, which is easy, this is the front of the case. You can kind of tell because the flap stops right there. So just make sure you open it like this. And we've got a little bit of padding on the inside, it looks like. And I don't know if it's possible. Maureen did this before she went to UPS to have them finish the packing job on it. But again, I would strongly recommend if you're shipping a Swedish Beauty in the case that you also cocoon the Swedish Beauty inside of the case as well. And when they have a caddy like this on here, it's a little bit trickier, but you can still do it because this is kind of an open shell case. It looks like there's no cubbies in the back, like on the green machines where they've got a cubby for the foot controller and a cubby for the accessory box. This one is an open case, so you got enough cushion. Right now you can see you got enough cushion over here where this space could easily be filled in and should be filled in, because otherwise it allows the machine to go back and forth like that when it's being shipped. And we don't want any movement, no movement at all of the machine inside of the case if you're shipping it in a case. So did anyone guess the model yet? You're kind of looking at the machine, and I don't have the model covered, but I kind of have it off the screenshot right now. What model do you think this is? And if anyone wants to get an A in the class for the day and not have to go to summer school, no one wants to go to summer school. No one that I ever met wants to go to summer school. Tell me what series this machine came from and what was the first machine in this series. And if you know the year, that's even better. So what was the first machine in this series? What is this series? And What year did it first get introduced? This particular series of this type of machine? Yeah, that's a lot of questions. And don't ask me to repeat them because I probably won't remember. Oh, Vanessa is not really new to us per se. She's been watching our channel for a while, and but it's great to have you here today in this live stream. That's very cool. We love meeting new people, don't we? All of us do. There we go. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit more in line. Aha! I was like cutting part of the machine off. So what do you guys think? Any guesses? Colormatic. I'm looking. So Emma writes, Colormatic 2000. And I don't know, she didn't really specify what she means by that. Do you mean, Emma, that this is a Colormatic 2000? Or was that the first machine in the series that this machine is a part of? And Roz is writing something about a Model 158. You guys may be having a side conversation about a Kenmore sewing machine because the 158 Dot series was part of the Kenmore sewing machines. They had a bazillion flavors of 158 Dot something or other. And I've joked about that in premieres before where Kenmore loved their numbers. They love their numbers. But this is not part of the 158 series. And Roz may be talking about something totally different. So I want to clarify that as well. Yeah, Emma's right. Emma's correct. The Model 2000 Colormatic was the very first model in this series of Colormatic sewing machines. And does anyone remember the year that the series of the Colormatic machine was introduced by Viking Husqvarna? And it was introduced because they wanted to demonstrate how easy it was to set these three knobs to the same color. And depending on the cam that's in the back, whether it's A, B, C, or D, you would be able to just set it to that color and know exactly what stitch you're going to get. And a lot of these controls, particularly the stitch length, which is this one, and the stitch width on some of the stitch selection colors, you even have a range where you can adjust it high or low depending on if you want a wider stitch or a longer stitch as well. Roz is not only a fourth generation quilter, not only a dear friend, not only my favorite person in the entire state of Michigan, hands down, but she's also spot on. This is a Model 620. And more importantly than being a Model 620, this, ladies and gentlemen, is, and I will ring the bell in honor of her arrival, this is Gretchen. This is Gretchen, and again, named after Maureen's mom, who bought this machine brand spanking new. And this machine series had kind of a Husqvarna never really did a really good job of tracking their machine dates within the different series, other than major milestones like the beginning of a series, like the Husqvarna 2000, the first in the Colormatic series that came out in 1960. 1960 is when this series was first introduced, and it was introduced with the Model 2000. But other markers, they weren't quite as good at keeping paperwork and tracking dates. But the approximate window for the 6020, it would have been a little bit earlier than the recent 6030 that you saw me do for Cadillac Nancy. Any of you that watch things pretty closely, you saw me present Cadillac Nancy's model 6030. It would have come just after this series. So this would have been right around, late 1960s, 68, 69, or possibly the very beginning of 1970 is when this 6020 would have been manufactured. And it was manufactured obviously over a number of years. So oh, Roz, have fun. Have fun. Great having you here, dear. Oh, Vanessa is from New York. Vanessa's a New Yorker. Yo, we got a lot of New Yorkers or former New Yorkers. Yeah. All right, let's get this machine out of the case. So again, if you're going to ship a Swedish Beauty to the workshop, cocoon the machine, wiggle it into the case, and then, make sure all the empty cavities like these are filled in, especially on this side of the machine, because on this side of the machine you've got it's kind of a resin balance wheel. It's not metal. And then down here you've got on the side cover you've got a plastic cover that covers the that side of the machine. So plastic is vulnerable in shipping, isn't it? Just checking our runtime right now. Okay, we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. We're at about an hour and 46 minutes. When we're together, time goes so quickly, doesn't it? And we covered a lot of stuff. So this little padding in the middle really is window dressing. It really doesn't do anything unless there's something wrapped in here, which there isn't. So sometimes just people see that open space and go, oh, I'll stick something in there. But this really doesn't benefit the machine in any way. So we can say purpose packaging or purpose packing or something like that. We do everything very intentionally, don't we? Here again we had a presser foot lever that was in the up position. And on this model, the 6020, the presser foot lever is not metal, it's actually plastic. So being up like this, with this foot controller kind of banging against it, it's possible that this could have gotten broken off. So always have that presser foot lever down. And like I said, have a piece of material, if you're shipping it with a needle, have a piece of material underneath the presser foot and the needle in the down position, rotated all the way down. Right now we have the needle, you can kind of see it there, the needle is in the up position. So we want to rotate that down, have it down so it's all the way down into there. And ideally we would have a piece of and it really doesn't matter what the material is. It could be cotton, it could be bubblegum material like this. I'm going to bring that needle up again, slide that into position. There we go. That's the way you want to ship your machine. And really, even if you're going to a quilting retreat or a quilting expo, you always want to ship your machine or carry your machine with the needle bar at the lowest position with the needle in the material so that you can safeguard the needle and the needle bar as well. The needle bar at certain points is hollow on either end. So it's even more prone to cracking or breaking. So we lower it down so that it's got the greatest degree of protection. So a lot of people like these caddies. I'm not necessarily a fan, or I'm not necessarily a person that doesn't like them. I'm kind of neutral about them, but they are a convenient way to carry. You can kind of see it over here, carry extra thread. And you got this little cubby right here where you can put extra bobbins, presumably. And then obviously on the back, you've got a caddy space right here for the foot controller. And then a caddy space over here where you can store something else. I've seen people stick all kinds of things in these. And then to access the free arm, you just slide it off very easily. So it's, yeah, I don't have dreams about caddies on machines. I probably should be dreaming about caddies on machines, but I don't. So right now, just kind of looking into the raceway, because we have the needle down right now. We obviously can't remove the bobbin case. But the bobbin case used in this model 6020 will also work in machines dating all the way back to the 1950s. All the way back to the 1950s, you can use the same type of bobbin case in them. And in most cases, the same bobbin as well. And the thing that that Maureen likes about this machine, apart from being the fact that it was her mother Gretchen's, is when this machine came out just a little bit earlier than Cadillac Nancy's. Again, Cadillac Nancy's was a model 6030. When they rolled out the 1630 in the early 1970s, they not only were saying, let's make it easy, and they were talking about the ease of setting the machine up with the Colormatic selections, but they also were wanting to emphasize to people how easy it was to maintain these machines. And so by the time you got to the 6030 model, the 6030 model that belongs to Cadillac Nancy, they had already eliminated the oiling points across the top. So on Maureen's Gretchen, you've got oiling points. Kind of have one right here, just near the faceplate. Another one there. Another one there. Another one there. And a couple small little oiling points right there. Kind of see that? Two of them right there. So when you get to the 6030 model series, just after this one, there are no oiling points on the free arm. There are no oiling points on the free arm, and there are no oiling points across the top. So that's why, it's not true of everybody, but there are a number of people that if they had a choice between a 6020 and a 6030, they would go with a 6020 because it was at a time when Husqvarna had not moved towards trying to market a maintenance-free machine. Here, they're still making an admission that the machine needs to be oiled. It needs to be serviced properly by having those different oiling points on the machine. So, and that was one of the things that Maureen and I talked about on the phone, is she likes to maintain machines. She's a serious vintage sewing machine owner, and she always would pick a 6020 over a 6030. Nothing against the 6030s, nothing against Cadillac Nancy, but it's just showing you how companies will go through subtle changes that can have lasting impacts on how people perceive their product. So I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, that's right. So Maureen said that this particular knob, which is our stitch control knob right here, is completely frozen. And I can feel that just trying to move it. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And we wouldn't want to turn it anyway because our needle is down in the material right now. And if we were able to turn this stitch selector, it would make that needle move and we would bend our needle. So never turn a stitch selector when the needle's in the down position in the material. And then next to the stitch selector, we've got our stitch length and our reverse right here. Let me move that a little bit closer. There we go. So again, our stitch selector, it allows us to go through the different modes of sewing. We can choose buttonholing functions from here. We can choose zigzag. We can use straight stitch. We can choose blind hem. We can choose 3-point zigzag. And then we can set this to the different color series that matches up with the cam that's in the rear of the machine. Right now we have cam A. And then again, stitch length with reverse right in the middle. And then last but certainly not least, we have our stitch width. And this knob also pulls out. And then you can click it through 3 stages to do an auto buttonhole type function with the machine. So then our feed dog drop right down here. You just push it in and it kind of stays in and your feed dogs are down. You push it again and then your feed dogs pop back up again. So it's going to be real similar to Cadillac Nancy's Model 6030. And those of you that are not familiar, over here, we've got our bobbin winding assembly. And this has the coveted slow gear, which you can access by pulling this out, assuming it's not jammed up. You just pull it out like that. And then using a gear reduction, it takes that machine from full speed all the way down to 1/5 speed. So it gives you a lot of control for tight turning and corners and just a lot of maneuverability so that you're able to, like me on live streams, you're able to put on the 1812 Overture and buzz around a chunk of leather or something like that using this slow gear. And then when you're done using it, you just slide it back in like so. And then you'll hear a click when that gear reduction kicks back in to full speed. It just makes a subtle click. Let's see if we can hear it. Yeah, it didn't click. It may be kind of gummed up inside right now. But that's a beautiful feature, the slow gear. But again, I say it in all the premieres and the live streams. A lot of people will write on Facebook in their little groups, or they'll write on Etsy, or they'll write other places. They love this power boost on their Husqvarna. It's not a power boost. It's a speed reduction. And it doesn't change the fact that this machine has a 1-amp motor, and no matter whether you pull it out or you push it in, you're still only going to have 1 amp of power, 1 amp of power. It doesn't give you all of a sudden 1.2 or 1.3 or 1.4. All it does is slow the machine down from full speed to 1/5. But it's like driving a car in the winter if you're from a cold climate like I am. When you reduce the gear reduction on a car and you're in slippery weather, you're going to get better traction. So that's where people might get the notion that by pulling this out, you're getting more power. What you're doing is you're getting more traction because the belt doesn't have a chance to slip if it's glazed between the power output pulley on the motor and the bobbin winding assembly. It distributes that power with greater control, more evenness when you have that gear reduction. So hopefully that makes sense. The other big plus on the Husqvarna machines is down in the raceway, you have what's called a jam-free raceway. And that allows the hook to float up and down and left and right as you're sewing, which allows thicker thread to pass through the raceway without getting jammed. And that's why the Swedish labeled it the jam-free raceway. So that's another great feature about this machine. Yeah. And I'm going to, just because I don't know the condition of Gretchen, I'm going to avoid plugging it in at this point. But eventually you'll see this machine premiered on the channel, probably through a live stream. and you'll have a chance to see Gretchen do her dance. So with that, I think we're going to wrap this live stream up and let you get on with your Saturday. I want to thank everybody that took time to join. I want to thank the leaders that were here as well, like Michelle and Emma. And I don't think I saw Paula. If Paula was here and I missed her, then shame on me. I don't think Bill was here either. And Vanessa from Del Rio, Texas was not here. She's one of our other leaders. And I didn't see Sunny either. So, but any of the leaders that were here helping to make people feel welcome and maybe also helping to clarify certain things that I said or answering other questions. I'm so grateful to those that have stepped up to that role of being a moderator on this YouTube channel. I can't tell you how grateful I am for your time and for your talent. So goodbye to Gretchen. Goodbye to our Centennial machine that you already saw that I'm preparing for John from Connecticut. It's real busy in the workshop. And I'm just finishing up a project that's been in here a long time. Let me show that to you. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it or reach it. These are all of our boxes over here. But you can just catch a glimpse over here of Cora. Cora is from the 1800s and is a Wilcox and Gibbs machine that needed a number of parts and has been in the workshop. Make sure you're sitting down. She's been in the workshop for a little bit over 2 years as I was dealing with all of the needs that she had. And she's finally just a step away from being premiered through a live stream. So, and I also did the decal work and then re-clear coated her as well. And coincidentally, all of you, I think, know Alex Askroff, my friend from the UK. And Alex, just in the last couple of days after I'd done some posts on Cora, this beautiful Wilcox and Gibbs machine, Alex threw up a project that he's working on with another Wilcox and Gibbs machine that was designed for making hats. So what do they say? Great minds, right? Great minds. So I know Alex follows this channel as well. So a quick shout out to Alex and his beautiful wife, Yana. Yep. So, all right, take care, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday. God bless you. And yeah, watch for other premieres. I don't know the next one I'm going to do. It might be Cora. So yeah, you don't want to miss that one. That'll be a fun one to do. We've never done a Wilcox and Gibbs machine from the 1800s before. So that'll be a new milestone on the channel. So goodbye, Gretchen. Goodbye to all of our friends that are in the live chat. Emma and Michelle and Vanessa from New York originally. And Roz has already stepped away. Goodbye to Roz. And I'm scrolling up. And to Mickey. Who else am I missing? Oh, and Becca. Welcome to Becca, and goodbye to Becca as well. I think I caught everybody. I think I did. I might have. Boy, it's kind of fun when I always try to remember to click the little thing so that the live chat can replay. So if someone couldn't join us as they're rewatching this, they can actually, in perfect sync, there I am, in perfect sync with the video replay is all of the chatting and all the comments that were shared in the live chat. And sometimes owners can't make it either. And it's so much fun for them to watch the video and then be looking over at the live chat. It's like it's in real time in sync with the video. So they get a chance to re-experience it or to experience it even if they didn't watch it originally. Yeah, I better put on my glasses. It makes me smarter. Or at least blue, one of the two. All right, take care, everybody. I'll let you wrap up your chat and then I'll end the live stream in just a few seconds. guys are happy to be out of the boxes, right? Yeah, you are. I wouldn't want to be stuck in a box, especially with the smell of cardboard coming from Minnesota, coming from Oklahoma. No, count me out. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. All right. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, Vanessa. And thank you for joining us. It's always an honor and a privilege to have folks join us for these live streams and premieres. It's always fun. Well, I think that's my cue. The music ended. Now I have to end the live stream. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. And remember Father's Day. If you have fathers in your lives, or even fathers that have passed away, it's always appropriate and well-timed to honor our parents, isn't it? Yeah, it is. All right, take care, everybody. See ya. Oh, I should be a good boy. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bean, for reminding me. Use the big bell. I got it. Class is dismissed.